Committee? Yeah, okay, cool.
Well, they're ready. If you.
I'll call it to order.
Okay, we'll start.
Right. Good evening, it's February the 12th. This is the Town of Barnstable Shellfish Committee. And I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:05, approximately, that's what the clock says. We have a quorum. I've been asked to step in on behalf of the chair. And first order of business is to approve the meeting minutes from January 8th. Everybody have a copy of those minutes? I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes as presented.
I'll make a motion to present the January 8th minutes, 2025, as presented.
Great.
Seconded.
Moved, seconded, discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, they're approved, thank you. Chairman's comments, we'll reserve those till the chairman comes back, which I presume will be the next meeting.
Yes.
Item number 3, Natural Resources Report, Growing Area Updates. Please.
So, water quality sampling was done yesterday for Marston's Mills River and Prince Cove. Should have those results hopefully sometime Friday. But should they be nice and pretty and clean, then come the 15th, this will be the open area in the Marston's Mills River and Prince Cove, which is currently closed. Slated to then close again effective May 1st. The area biologist wants to do some sampling of that area during the close season just to get a sense of what the impacts may or may not still be. But it was kind of in recent years that it went from being like 6 months open to 3 months open to 2.5 months open. So I don't know that they're going to be anything that's going to change anything. It's likely to stay the same, unfortunately.
Is there dredging in there?
This year?
Yeah.
No.
No dredging in there.
No this year, no next year, potentially no the following year.
Okay.
This is year 1 of no. Let it sit. So back on the 28th of January, which my department and DPW was not notified about until the 1st, I want to say, of February. It was that Friday. It might have been the 2nd even. There was a sewage outfall overflow in Stewart's Creek. Sewage was accidentally pumped into a storm water flow that basically pumped over the course of 10 minutes, 1,300 gallons of sewage into Stewart's Creek. DMF did some calculations and made a 1,000-foot radius from where it would have come out of the creek closed zone. And that notice, although it didn't go out until February, was backdated to the 29th because the issue happened in the evening on the 28th. After 21 days is required for the closure, the area will reopen, and these are the maps that will be posted back out in the field. I've got a little sign on the shoreline here and a little sign on the shoreline here. We didn't put out anything for the semicircle because by and large it's thankfully not an area that's super heavily utilized by any fishery, and we don't have any aquaculture over there. So in terms of having sewage like enter your water, not terrible, but still not great. And not something that I've ever had to deal with in this town yet before, so it was new. So those are our growing area maps. Anyone have any questions about that? Okay, so moving on to the commercial lottery results. Commercial lottery was held on the 3rd because the 1st was a Saturday. And these are the positions of everyone that was drawn. We had 31 people in it in total. Pretty consistent with most years, usually ranged between like 24 and 34. So 31 is and a lot of the names are familiar. Wade Bellman did not renew this year his commercial permit. And so a permit was offered to John Madden as he was drawn first. I sent him the certified letter like I do anytime there's a commercial permit that's available, giving him 10 business days to come in and pay the rest of the fee. And then, of course, you have a little bit more time to get your permit from the state, because if you don't feel like driving direct to either Gloucester or Boston, it can take a hot minute if you do it online or if you mail in. And he had to prove his domicile. He dropped off all of that yesterday at the office. So to date, most everybody has at least gotten in what they're supposed to for the January 31st deadline for commercial permits. But we do now have the remainder of requirements. Recognizing that permits expire effective the 1st of April, if you want to fish in the month of April, you need to get me your annual proof of domicile, a copy of your state commercial permit or transaction card, and pay the rest of the fee due for your permit. Otherwise, your permit is expired April 1st. You still have until May 1st, end of business day, to get in all of that stuff and still keep your permit, but you cannot legally fish come April 1st without a valid permit, and you will not be given a permit unless you have fulfilled all of the requirements. So just a reminder on that. The only other things we have in a couple days, aquaculture waitlist renewals are due because the 15th is a Saturday. They're actually due Monday and a business day on the 17th. And annual reports for aquaculturists are due by the end of the business day, Friday, February 28th.
17th is a holiday.
Oh my God, Tuesday. It is a holiday. Check that out. How dare they do that to me? A weekend and a holiday, the same thing. So the 18th for your $5. I'll make sure we update that in our online system so nobody gets booted. Make a note of that. 2/17 holiday. Thank you, Stuart. Greatly appreciated.
You're welcome.
And then I have our monthly propagation report submitted by Cecilia Dunham and Amanda Lee. They state this month they've been working on repairing more of their gear, including oyster trays and the floating upweller. Cavity tanks become weak from years of use and weathering. The repairs will ensure it remains strong for the upcoming season and not fall down to the bottom of Prince Cove like last year. For the trays, they've been repairing holes, adding new lining and more stable feet. Changes will not only preserve the waders from rips and tears, but will also aid in more effective oyster growth. In addition to the repair work, they've been working on getting into Barnstable schools as an environmental justice initiative, which is something that I had mentioned, I think, a couple of months before, and something that Nina touched on when she was here in either October or November. The goal of our school programming is to expose and encourage the young students of Barnstable to become more engaged in shellfishing in the environment. They met with staff at Barnstable United Elementary School to discuss plans. If you're wondering why, it's a 5th grade teacher there that's just extremely motivated, has been teaching for over 30 years, and is one of the teachers that does Diamondback Terrapin head starting for me. She's extremely active with basically all of the teachers of the schools, and is just a good in to getting sort of them set up with a platform that won't fail. Since the meeting, they've been working on lessons plans and presentations for the students. They continue to perform routine quahog net cleaning at propagation site and regular water quality sampling with DMF. In the harbors, they've placed our orders for 2025 seed, which does include scallops, and are looking forward to this year's growing season. Any questions about the monthly propagation report?
Thank you. Appreciate it. New business? None on the list. Upcoming enroll, renewal, and transfer hearings. Hearing for the renewal of Rob Ashworth.
Yeah. I started doing this. You weren't here last month, but you'd been asking them for them for months, and so I finally took screenshots of where these sites are.
Thank you.
For you. So here you go. So yeah, Rob Ashworth is in Florida, because that's where you go this time of year if you can. I don't know. And this is his site, NG22, in Barnstable Harbor Aquaculture Zone. So I'll go through his renewal. His license number has a 99 in it, which means that this license was initially issued to him in 1999. So he's been a grower for a long time in the harbor. Approximate number of acres involved is 2, with a mean low water depth of 1 foot and a mean high water depth of 9 feet. The existing bottom conditions are sand and clay, with no natural populations of shellfish present. He cultivates oysters and quahogs there and is not at this time apparently interested in growing anything else. He does off-bottom culture with oyster racks and bags and on-bottom oyster trays. He does hand sorting to harvest his shellfish. He does not at current need a predator control program. This is his proposed sole means of support, and he does employ outside help in his operation for anyone that knows, Craig Whitcomb. Requested renewal is for 10 years, and he did meet with me over the phone ahead of submitting his application, so that's just sort of the general map that gives you the latitudes and longitudes. From natural resources perspective, he's up to date on everything that he needs to be up to date with. We don't ever have any issues with Rob and would have no issue with renewing for a period of 10 years.
Great. Any further talk about that? I'll entertain a motion to recommend that the town approve a 10-year renewal.
I'll make a motion to approve that the town approves a 10-year renewal.
Thank you, Jackie. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved, seconded, discussion? Hearing none? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hey,
Any opposed? 2-4. Upcoming and old proposed coastal projects. We have an applicant, Bluefield LLC. Is Bluefield LLC represented at this meeting?
No.
Doesn't appear to be. They're requesting a seasonal ramp and float at 571 Old Post Road in Katuitt.
Yes.
Map 54, parcel 18.
So if I can get down here to right here. So this is the locust point right here, kind of between Katuitt Oyster Company and Cordwood Landing, so tucked away in Katuitt Bay. You might have a slightly better map. There was a survey that was done back in October by Dave Ryan that did show that there were some shellfish present. This is his pictures of the area as it exists. At the time that I had sent you guys the project and plans, we had not yet had the shellfish survey comments written up. Those were sent to the Conservation Commission by Liz before she hopped a plane to Zurich to then head out to Zanzibar for a hot minute.
Cool.
And yeah, so she'll be back in like 2 weeks. And so this hearing is on Tuesday. These are the results of the shellfish survey done by our department. It just gives you kind of the layout of the transects that were done. They're not required to stake the project until a week before the Conservation Commission hearing, which I feel kind of puts an unnecessary burden on the shellfish team to be able to do a survey and get those comments to this committee and to the Conservation Commission ahead of a hearing. I did make that concern known to the interim head of conservation, Edwin Hoops, because Darcy is retired. But have not really heard back on that yet. I'll continue to poke the bear.
They're the ones who control that limitation or that schedule?
They're at least, I think, ones that could bring it to the attention of the Conservation Commission and maybe, I don't know, dust off their bylaws a little bit or something, or their requirements for such. Sediment changed as depth increased. There were ribbed mussels present in the marsh grass, as there is in most areas of Three Bays. No shellfish was found from 0 to 20 feet. 9 large chowder-sized quahogs were present in 6 3-meter squared plots at 30 feet and 40 feet. In her additional comments, she states the habitat in the proposed footprint is significant and conducive to the settlement and recruitment of shellfish, though no softshell clams were present on the day of the surveys. This is exactly the type of habitat that softshells would settle in. 10 out of 10 rated habitat should be protected even from seasonal structures. There's not a very large number of quahogs currently present in the footprint of the proposal. Habitat can support a significant population of quahogs. Area has also been open to shellfishing, so it's unknown what the populations are from time to time. This is only a snapshot of the quahog population present. This is an area that if we're able to grow more quahogs in Three Bays, the propagation team would plant more quahogs along the shoreline. One of the main points that needs to be stressed is the discrepancy between the depths on the site plan provided by Sullivan Engineering and the depths taken on site. 30 minutes before low tide on a minus 0.1 foot tide, almost your average mean low, the float will have only between 6 and 9 inches of water beneath it. Taking this into consideration, half of all low tides will have less water than that. It's a relief that float stops are considered as part of the plan, but it seems unnecessary to have a pier and float at all for such little water. One would still have to walk out from the end of the float to even put in a kayak, defeating the purpose of the seasonal pier altogether. So we're not obviously in favor of this proposal. It just seems like it's just too much and just doesn't really make a lot of sense to damage habitat in that way for something that is going to be seasonal and does not really appear to be tapping 2.2 feet of water on most mean low tides.
Is that between the Oyster Grant and Cordwood?
Yeah.
And that-
It's just about like where we were putting in the sign for the Katuitt Oyster Company mooring area closure.
It's halfway.
That's some nasty muck in there.
It can be mucky, but there's recreational people that go there and get their cohogs also.
Yeah, Cordwood, yeah, but as you go
steamers.
closer to the Grant, it gets muckier and muckier.
Oh yeah, well, because by then you're in the
Oh,
mooring area
that's
and it's
nasty.
yeah, it's nasty. But you know what though? Chowders still grow in that nasty muck, which is shocking to me. But when that mooring area was not subject to a closure, people would go and toe hog in that muck during the summertime and get large chowders.
Bad. Yeah, you get stuck in there too.
I thought that there was a moratorium on piers and stuff in Katuitt.
So did I.
So that was
So did I.
something that I had looked into, and if you guys give me a moment, I can find. I had sent it to Liz because we were both like, there's an overlay district here, and we looked at the zoning regs, and it speaks to designated relay areas in portions of Katuitt, West Bay, and North Bay. And that one spot, unfortunately, is not located within a designated relay area.
It seems like every time you turn around, it's a
houses
new
down.
dock.
Well, as far as this
Pier
committee is
comes
concerned, we
somewhere.
think
They're
that
gonna
there is
try
a
to get away with it
moratorium
if they
for the
can.
most part.
Yeah.
I won't speak for anybody.
So was I.
Yeah,
So there is, I guess, over a certain area, and this doesn't fall within it. I will tell you historically, two points. I grew up in the village. I've been fishing this area my entire life. I continue to. Number one. Number two, this gentleman who owns this house went before the zoning board in an attempt to change or to get relief from the zoning regulations, because he believed he was in that moratorium area. So he went that route to try and get this dock a few years ago. I attended on behalf of this committee, argued that he shouldn't have it. He was denied.
Was this it went to the zoning?
He went to the zoning,
I vaguely remember something
Yeah,
about that,
to
yeah.
the zoning board. Because he went to the building commissioner, and the building commissioner said, I can't help you. So his relief was zoning board of appeals, and that's when he got turned down. So now he's taking another route.
And what about the one there on Bay Street, that big monster one that went out from that guy's house there?
To the left of the ramp,
Yeah,
Over John Novoychuk's mooring.
Yeah, also not
everybody's more.
also not in a designated relay area.
Yeah, and then he's got a camera on you, walk on the beach,
It talks to you.
and it talks to you, you're on private property. I was like, what the hell is that? And there's a speaker coming out of somebody watching
obnoxious.
you. You can't walk on there. I said, what the heck?
So the way that section 240-37 reads, and this is part of the zoning regulations for recreational shellfish area and shellfish relay area dock and pair overlay district. They explain the purpose and the scope, but under A subsection B, prohibiting docks and piers in mapped portions of the coastal waters of Katuitt Bay, North Bay, West Bay, Lewis Bay, and Barnstable Harbor designated as recreational shellfish area or shellfish relay area. So it would have to be, and then it does have a list of
you said two
the
things.
zoning
Isn't it all
maps.
recreational shellfishing area?
No,
That's what I heard.
There's only 3 designated recreational
Yeah, but there's
shellfish
two
areas.
different things being said in the statement.
Right.
Right, so they're protecting docks and piers from being built in a designated recreational shellfish area and also in any designated relay area. The two are not one and the same.
Right.
So that would encompass this, because that would be a recreational shellfishing area.
It's not-
designated as,
It's not designated as recreational only. There are only
Yeah,
3 areas, the Bridge Street recreational area, the Handy Point recreational area, and the Scudder Lane recreational area that are designated as recreational only. All other areas are of course open recreationally, but are also open commercially. And some of those areas that are open both recreationally and commercially are designated as shellfish relay areas because historically they were areas that had good habitat for relaying shellfish too, especially when in the times that we were doing like large numbers of contaminated relays.
Anybody here to talk in favor of this?
No.
No.
Great.
I
So,
mean, he can, there's other ways that they can reach where they wanna reach without putting in a float on the bottom there.
they have stairs that go to the water. Those stairs have been there for years.
Exactly.
And they get to their boat with their dinghy that's right there. I think they have an out haul.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from Dave's
Right.
survey
Yeah.
pictures, yeah.
So they have a way to get
So
out to their
They don't
boat.
really need it, it's just their convenience is what they're asking for.
Increases property value, who knows?
Yeah, but you know,
But at the cost of,
it costs
Of
of our
habitat.
natural
Yeah.
environment, so.
And
That's
does conservation care about habitat? Dare I ask?
But some
We're
years
getting rid
ago,
of Collier's Ledge.
there was a big
yeah,
discussion
that's
about.
happening, huh?
Yeah, I went to all the meetings.
When is it starting?
I don't know, like next winter.
What's that?
They're like removing Collier's Ledge.
Because?
People hit it.
Insurance, I bet. Yeah, they tallied over 1 point something million in insurance claims, so Coast Guard got a complaint. Came in, did a survey.
Are they removing it or just lowering it? I
No.
thought they were just lowering it.
Yeah, but to the point that they're gonna lower it to,
It's gonna
It's gonna
defeat any
silt over.
purpose, yeah.
there was a whole study, like, read about it, how when you lower it to a certain amount depth, it will entice it to set it like silt over if you need to have it at a certain height
It's free
to prevent
flow.
it from doing that. So it'll just be a rocky hump of sand.
So they're gonna change it to Rocky Hump?
Mm-hmm.
Collier's Ledge, change to Rocky
I think
Hump?
it's 7 feet down.
sounds much less damaging.
All right, so, unless anybody wants to discuss this any further, I'll entertain a motion to have the chair pen a letter to the or to the Conservation Commission, indicating the disfavor of this project and wish that the Conservation Commission would not approve it. Does that sound accurate? So I'll entertain that motion.
I'll second that.
No,
Yeah, make it.
I'll make.
so
Still
moved.
gonna do it.
So moved.
There you go. Second?
I'll second it.
Great. Discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Alright.
All those opposed? Good job.
So
Will you pass that along to DJ?
I will pass it along to DJ. As mentioned, he does plan on writing a letter, even though he's on the 1 4-day vacation he gets to take a year. Right now, he's gonna check in with me tomorrow regarding the temperature of the committee, which I'm glad is the same temperature as my department. And he also plans on attending the Zoom. I would encourage anyone who is around to also attend the Zoom if you have strong feelings about a project. I mean, a lot of the time, if we show up to all of them, you kind of have to pick your battles. This is one battle that I feel is worth picking. I will be traveling to and from Newburyport that day, but I'm coming in at 5:30 in the morning to make that trip, so I'm hopeful I will be home and coherent for 6:30 and that I can log in as well to support the comments of the shellfish biologist who's not currently in the country.
Awesome. And just so everybody knows, that's February the 18th?
Yep.
At 6:30 via Zoom, so you can do it in your pajamas.
Yeah. And you can get the Zoom information both on the town calendar. You can also get it on the Conservation Commission's webpage. And in addition to that, they have the agenda and all meeting materials. So if you wanted to like pull up the NOI yourself to review it a little bit more, you can get it there as outside of me just sending them to you electronically.
Thank you, Amy. I'm gonna move on to number 7, old business.
I know, right? It had come off the agenda,
we're done.
but
I didn't
no, we're
even-
never done. It's never done. I had a meeting about it today. Just today. So I had a meeting with, I was just gonna read you like a boring kind of email from, that was like, oh, we're gonna meet. But then they made the meeting this morning at 10. So myself and Brian Taylor met with DPW and with Pear, who's the company that was hired to do the plans. And they listened, I think, better to the concerns this time. There is some unfortunateness that it's taken us 3 years to get here. I think we started this in 2021, but don't ping me on that. So one of the biggest concerns was the slope. They were going to increase the slope of the ramp. They're going to look at bringing that back to normal, ensuring that what they're gonna do with catch basins for stormwater will actually still do what it's intended to do, bringing that slope back up to where it is currently, so it won't be as steep. Tied into that was the ADA access, which is needed. It's not something that they can get out of. It's a requirement, but for some reason they had chose to put that parking spot for the ADA access, which is on the western side of the upper lot, to the eastern side of the lot, which takes away valuable parking from people who utilize Scudder. So what they want to do is if they can get away with adjusting the slope, then they'll be able to put a parking spot where the ADA access is, which is like 2 birds, 1 stone kind of thing. And they have all finally agreed that many guardrails going down the ramp is not necessary. And so they will not be a part of the project with the exception of a portion of the ADA access to make sure that people don't hurt themselves. They're going to use either cement or flat stone on the eastern side of the ramp so people can drive off of it. Not, to the death of your car, but the way that we currently do now, that will be maintained. And so that access can occur off tide rather than only at low tide. They're changing the name of the project. It's no longer a boat ramp project. It's now a landing project. So thank you, Town of Barnstable growers, for getting that one done, because they finally are understanding that the use of the area is not primarily as a boat ramp, it's a landing. They have a couple concerns about MIPA getting involved because the Conservation Commission has allowed vehicles to park in the resource area for so long. They've got a couple strategies on how to get around that, but it could be like a kind of a sticking point given the fact that at least 2 conservation commissioners park in that lot to go recreationally shellfishing. I'm thinking they'll still uphold approving it. They would have to because that access is incredibly important given the limited amount of access in the harbor. And they are going to hopefully have a revised set of plans by the end of this week or next week, which will then probably result in another internal meeting. And then Griffin at DPW had asked them for a timeline because time of year restrictions, because it is an ACEC, could be such that it will impact the wild fishery, the aquaculturists, and potentially the recreational fishery. So getting ahead of that to notify people is important. So that is an actual update that I have for you.
Thank you very much.
For that.
Any questions?
I just thank you for keeping that on the agenda all of these years, because you never know when there'll be a day just like that, oh yeah, we might have forgot to talk about that.
I think we took it off for 2 months,
Yeah.
right? And then had to put it back on again, so
1 or 2.
it's great, yeah.
That sounds like a lot of progress compared to where it was before that last meeting we had.
I would agree. I think a lot of the concerns that were given at the November meeting were echoed in the first stakeholder meeting.
They were.
But it looked like it sponged in there this time, so.
Yeah, they weren't even listening the first time.
Yeah. They
I'd
hope
say
they all forgot.
Not out of my mouth.
Number 8, matters not reasonably anticipated. Mark, introduce yourself.
Mark Begley, an oyster farmer from Barnstable.
Thank you.
Thank you. the other day, Amy and I were at a presentation where the Nature Conservancy was talking about some of their oyster reefs that they had located in various locations in the state, more in the Buzzards Bay area than others. And so Amy and I had a brief conversation. She didn't think there were any appropriate places in Barnstable for something like that. And so I went to a map the other day and was looking, and I looked, it's like, oh, how about Collier's Ledge? That would be a great place to put an oyster reef, not knowing that this was going on.
I'd like to, well, I think that like in Centerville, in East Bay, part of those areas that are closed, there's wild oysters in East Bay. So I've always thought that that would be a good spot for an oyster reef because one, it would it could be in an area that's never open to harvest, so it could actually do what an oyster reef is like supposed to do, like just keep building on top of itself, and then there's already wild oysters to make it happen, kind of, you know what I mean?
That does tend to be a hang up with the state in terms of like allowing market-sized, marketable products to be grown in an area that's never open to harvest. That would be, it's like a discussion I'm willing to have, but historically
It's a big no for the.
it's like capital N, capital O, lots of exclamation points, it's underlined, it's bolded, like all of those things. I can still ask. I can ask about Collier's Ledge because one of the ladies from Planning and Development that's really kind of working the blue economy edge for Hyannis Harbor and trying to engage people more, provide more fishing access, had mentioned like oyster reefs as like natural breakwaters. And in the areas that she was initially promoting it in prohibited areas was again the capital N with the O, exclamation points, underlined, bolded,
Collier's
italicized, all
Ledge
those
is
things.
gone now.
Yeah, it's taken
But-
away.
Yeah, but and not in a closed area.
Yeah.
So that could be a
No, but
potential.
if you put the oysters there, they would just get boring sponge on them
Yeah.
because it's never ever gonna go dry, you know. And the only place you really see the wild oysters in East Bay is up in the marsh around there.
Can't believe the grass.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of them
We
in there.
actually have them by our dock.
Yeah,
I
they're
counted 7
they're all
the
the way
other
up
day,
at
and
the
I was
boat
like, oh
ramp.
my god.
They're all the way up to the boat ramp.
One other random update that I had kind of forgotten about was I did bring the green crab issue to the Shellfish Advisory Panel, and Wayne Castingway, who works for Division Marine Fisheries, was the person that helped get that group going on the North Shore. He, to my understanding, after talking to, I believe he's a grower in Plymouth, Don Wilkinson, who is very deep in the green crab issue. Wayne has scheduled a meeting on the 25th of March out at Governor's Academy, which is in Byfield, which is kind of like out by Newbury-ish area. So where he's around, where Senator Tarr is kind of, active in the green crab working group to kind of figure out next steps. But in the meantime, I did get an email from East Coast Shellfish Growers Association today from North American Invasive Species Management Association regarding a green crab invasion in coastals perspectives meeting. It's a webinar that's happening, I think at 1:30 or 1 o'clock on the 19th of February, which I plan on attending. Don and I have kind of been looking at he's been looking more in depth in it, but compost options, dog treat options. The restaurant option is kind of there, but not really. New York Times did a really interesting piece recently on green crabs. And, this webinar is from the perspective of the other coast of this country. So it's not, it's not just a Barnstable problem. It's not just a Massachusetts problem. It's not just an East Coast problem. Green crabs are a problem. And in that New York Times article, I think they definitely coined a boast in just stating that they are the perfect invader. And unfortunately, we just aren't having the weather that we used to that kind of keeps them in check during the winter time. So it's a large issue. It's a hot topic issue. So we're moving forward with it. I don't know where that's going to end up, but it's getting into bigger hands than just our local ones, so I think that that's good.
And this is regarding the bounty program type
This is
thing
like
or
regarding the
whatever?
bounty program being like a feel-good little local approach that won't really do anything and no necessarily because of time of year restrictions and gear restrictions, like even have anyone actually actively entertaining it
How
during the
many-
normal season.
I guess how, like, what would be the bounty on a bushel of green crabs, I guess?
I was like, they were paying, I think, 40 cents a pound for them or something in that program that was run out of the North Shore. But after having met with Jamie Bassett and after having brought it to the Shellfish Advisory Panel, was like, no one municipality is going to be able to run a bounty program that's going to successfully take care of this problem. It's too deep-seated. It's gotten completely out of control.
I know
And
that-
at this point, we need like not only just the state, but like multi-state, multi-money,
Yeah.
I think
big plan to take care of
what
it.
they've talked about, I've been following what's happening in California, and they're ahead of it. Well, it's earlier there than it is here, so it's in less places, and they've tried extensively to try to trap them, and they've found that there's almost like a Medusa situation where, I think that's what they called it, where you take out all the majority of the bigger parts of the population, but they're cannibalistic. So all the seed, all the babies, all have a high probability of surviving, growing up. So then you take out a lot of big ones, and all of a sudden you'll have a huge explosion of 1-year class because there's
Same
nothing to
thing
eat
with
them.
coyote
So how
hunting. You take out the alpha
So, like-
coyotes, you see more coyotes.
There's a
like,
green crabber in the
that's how it
harbor
goes.
this year, so does anybody know how much, like, how many bushels, was he doing 10 bushels or was he doing 80 bushels a day? Or what, do you have any idea what he was,
And there's no limit on them, I presume.
No.
You know?
50 trap limit?
Those are-
60
And
traps.
there's
50 trap out to
you
however
can
deep
get
or
an
whatever.
amendment to request more.
Yeah.
But to my understanding, it's not. It's like putting a Band-Aid on like a.
So, I mean,
you
if
cut
somebody
your whole
throws a
finger
trap
off
up
and
at
you,
the
you put a Band-Aid on it. That's the
grants,
solution.
are they getting a full trap or like how many,
Half trap in a.
because some people
few
think a lot of
days.
crabs is a half trap, honey?
Yeah, about a half trap in a few days.
Oh, okay.
But that's with a trap that was really designed as an eel trap originally. Tyler has made some that fish better than the stuff that I have, so
Yeah.
I think does better than that.
So
Wellfleet
it's not
has
that
been
many.
running their
I mean,
own like municipal kind of green crab trapping program through one of their deputy constables, and it's something that like keeps him up at night.
Yeah.
It'd be cool if you could kind of make some sort of genetically modified green crab that you put out, and when it bred, it was infertile, and then you just every couple years or every year you just put a ton of baby of these infertile ones out. So when I don't know their life cycle enough. Maybe I don't
That's
know.
mosquito guy, that's.
There's somebody
guy.
also
Yeah,
who's
there's ways
Mosquito
there's things that happen like that.
working on trying to like make them integrate them into plastic material.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I thought we saw-
there's a lot of
Copper
ideas
compost
out there, and there are a lot of
Fertilizer.
studies that have been done. And I think that now, because it's such a hot topic for so many states, that like, I'm hoping it will provide the, necessary like wave to really get something going on a larger.
Needs momentum.
It needs momentum, and I think it's getting it now, which is good. So I'm hoping something large will come out of it.
We're hoping some of the big companies that do like fertilizer, like Maine, I forget, something of
The
Maine.
Fox Farm, yeah,
Yeah, they
Maine Forest.
they usually take lobster shells and things like that. If they can start taking whole green crabs, that would be great.
Coastal, I think it's called, right?
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thing is, they stink.
and it's expensive.
They stink.
That's good.
It's good,
Big
yeah.
expensive stuff in the bag there.
Yeah.
Nasty.
They stink.
All right, any other business? No?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I got one more thing I want to ask.
Boy,
I
that
went
was
down,
close. I'll tell you.
And we still keep the motion in the
I went
second.
down to pay my mooring fee down at Princess Cove, and they just jumped it up. Is that what the case is? They went from $1.75 a foot to $8 a foot.
That
For the winter?
is another side of the house question. We don't deal with
Yeah, I
moorings.
would, for
Other
the
than
winter.
we don't like
So if it
them.
was, I was paying $31 a month, and it went to $90 a month. I said, really? I mean, I'm in ice, there's nothing there. I said, I pulled the boat out of the water, and they said, well, you were there for 4 days, you owe us $90. I said, because I said, they gave me no notice, because I paid November and December, and then the ice came in January, so I got my boat out of there, and next thing you know, it was $175. I went, whoa! I mean, for the 6 months that I paid there, it was 6 times 6, 180 for 6 months. From November to May 1st, and now it's $90 a month. I'm going like, what?
I will say fees, even if it's like an enterprise account, they have to go to fee hearings, which typically take place, I wanna say, in like May and in November. So this is probably something that the harbor master put in for as a fee increase, like back in May of 2024, but I'm not sure. That's even though I work in the same
Yeah.
building as them, that piece of it is completely separate.
Because I had no notice, no aware, no
But-
nothing. I was like, all of a sudden, here,
Yeah.
we went to $8
I would
a
say
foot.
reach out to either Jay Horn, who's the assistant harbor master, mooring officer,
Yeah.
or to Brian Taylor, the harbor master, because
Yeah, Brian,
I just don't
I
know.
know, yeah, okay, I know Brian, I've spoken to him before, but
Yeah.
I didn't mention this. I mean, it just came to me, went down there, I was like shocked. I went, $8 a foot, really?
Yeah, I mean, anytime there's a fee change, it has to be vetted, like when we brought you guys the potential changes for recreational permits, that's a fee change, has to go to a fee hearing, which is even separate from regulatory hearings. So it had to have been vetted at some point in time, I'm not aware when.
Yeah.
It's not something I really
Took me by
pay attention
surprise.
to.
Tough time of
I
year
don't have
for the
moorings.
kids to
so it
go.
I
doesn't
know,
really
like I said, I look for the ice.
So you can get out
You
every
can't
day.
even get out, what are you doing?
Not confirmed.
Okay, because I know in Plymouth, it's quite
Yes,
prevalent.
yeah.
So I have a motion, it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Thank you all.
Thank you
There it
guys.
is.